Namaste everyone. So thank you for joining in. I'm actually at my Guruji's place, so there could be a few problems with the audio. So anytime you feel that I have have become inaudible, just let me know in the chat box. Okay. In the last class we the last class did not happen, of course. The day before the last class, the class before the last class, we looked at how to calculate the birth chart manually. So today we will be looking at how to calculate the longitude of the planets. Okay, so this is again a manual calculation. I've prepared an example for you, and after this class, I'll share both the slides in the group. Okay, so let's start the class with our Shanti mantra from the Upanishads. Right. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunakatu Saha Viryankara Vavahai Tejasvinadadhitamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. So in the class before the last class, we calculated how to determine we tried to determine the Lagna manually. Okay. So the next step is the calculation of the longitudes of the planets, and the longitude of the planets is known as Grahasputa. Okay. It is known as Grahasputa. So these longitudes, they indicate the astronomical location of planets in the zodiac. All right. So since a horoscope is a graphical representation of the planetary positions at a given moment, so it is very, very important that a correct calculation for planetary positions is carried out. Okay. And as I said, you can use the software. All right. Jagannath Hora is the best free software. Parashara's Light or what was that, Cosmic Insights, that is the best paid software, so you can use any of them. And if you're using a mobile version of the software, you can download Jyotish app, which gives pretty much accurate calculations. Okay, so the position of the planets is given in various it's given in various panchangas. It is also known as, I forgot the name, Panchika. It is also known as Panchika. Okay, so in India, there are several hundred Panchikas published from different places. I've repeated this in the last class, right? And many of these Panchikas or Panchangas, they are used to give planetary longitudes at the time of local sunrise, generally on 4 occasions. Okay, so on the Krishna Ashtami, okay, on the Amavasya day, on the Shukla Ashtami, and on the Purnima day. Okay, so on all these 4 days, the panchangas can give planetary longitudes at the time of local sunrise. Okay, but then most of the panchikas that are published from different places, they have switched on to the Indian Standard Time for the sake of uniformity. Okay, because panchikas are published from the northern part, from the southern part, from East India, as well as from West India. So it has been a common decision to switch to Indian Standard Time. Which means that nowadays the panjikas or the panchangas that are published, they give planetary positions generally at 5:30 a.m. Okay, and this is equivalent to 12 a.m. of Greenwich Mean Time. Okay, so the most popular panchang, which is used for by Indian Jyotishis, is the Lahiri Panchika, which is published annually. Okay, and it gives the planetary positions according to the sidereal system, which is also known as the Niryana system, for 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Okay, and the Ayanamsha used is the Chitrapaksha Ayanamsha. All right, but then there are certain panchikas that can be used, which are based on the Sayana or the tropical system. Okay, so these panchikas, they will give the Sayana positions of the planets, which again need to be converted to the sidereal values by subtracting the Ayanamsha value for the appropriate year of birth. Okay, so that makes it a bit complex if you use a Sayana ephemeris. So it's much better if you use a Niryana ephemeris. Okay, so in the last class, we have seen how we have used local mean time for the calculation of the cusp of the ascendant, as well as for as well as other cusps. Okay, so why? Because because the rising of signs at any place is dependent upon the local time of that place. Okay, so for any given time of a clock, different signs will rise at different places on the earth. All right. And what is the longitude of the planet? The longitude of any planet is the angular distance that the planet makes with the center of the earth. All right. And this relationship is same for all places on the surface of the earth. Okay, so what it means is that the planetary positions for all places at any given moment, the planetary positions for all places on the earth are the same. Okay, so as I've mentioned, Lahiri's Panchika or Lahiri's ephemeris gives planetary positions on sidereal basis for 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. So according to this logic, for the calculation of planetary positions at any given moment, the Indian Standard Time must be used. Okay, so may not be you may not be using Lahiri's ephemeris. You may be using any ephemeris, but then for the calculation of planetary longitudes, the same time measure must be employed as has been employed by the ephemeris in use. That means the ephemeris which you are using. Okay, so let's look at a example calculation. Yeah. I hope I can see the screen. Okay, so this is the same birth data that I have used as in the previous example. 4th January 1995. 4th January 1995, 2:52 p.m. Indian Standard Time at New Delhi. Okay, so what are the steps of calculation? So we know that Lahiri's ephemeris gives planetary positions for 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time on a daily basis. Okay, so based on this, we'll calculate the longitude of the sun, and similarly, the longitudes of the other planets can be calculated. Okay, so what we do is that we consider the time of birth as the time elapsed since 5:30 a.m. for which the planetary positions are available. Okay, so this is the calculation for for the longitude of the sun. Okay, you can screenshot this thing, but I'll share the slides in the group, the previous slide as well as this slide once the class is over. Okay, and then after calculating the longitude of the sun, similarly the longitude of the other planets can be calculated. Okay, so by other planets I mean only those planets which are direct. Okay, so there will be planets which will be which will be retrograde. Okay, so what is a retrograde planet? I'm not going deeper into retrograde planets, just telling you how to calculate the longitude. So we know that a retrograde planet moves in the reverse direction. Okay, so instead of increasing, the longitude of such a planet will decrease as the time elapses. Okay, and this calculation will be applicable for all retrograde planets as well as for Rahu and Ketu, because they are they are almost in retrograde direction every time. Okay, and this calculation will never be applicable to the sun and moon because they never go retrograde. Okay, so let's see how to do it. So according to the given data, Mars is retrograde and the longitude is calculated as follows. Okay, so what we have done is instead of increasing, okay, the longitude has decreased as the time elapses. Okay, the same way, in the same way, the longitude of Rahu and Ketu can be calculated. Okay, so according to this longitude of Mars on January 4th, 1995, we get this value. So what happens, as I said, in case of retrograde planets, the movement proportionate to the elapsed time gets subtracted from the given longitude. Okay, and you don't need to calculate the longitudes of both Rahu and Ketu, because Rahu and Ketu will always be 180 degrees or 6 signs from each other. So, you just calculate the longitude of Rahu and then add 6 signs to get the longitude of Ketu. It will be the same basically. Okay. All right. Yeah. So apart from the normal birth chart, we will also have the divisional charts, which are called the Vargas. Okay. The divisional charts are also called as Vargas, and there are 16 divisional charts, so they are known as Sodasha Vargas. Okay, Sodasha means 16, and Vargas means the divisional chart, and each Varga will represent one area of life. All right, so I'll not go into details with the divisional charts. I'll just tell you what the divisional charts mean and how they can be used for for calculations. And we'll soon have a course next month on understanding each of the 16 divisional charts. So we'll start right from the Trikana and go up to the Sastyamsha. Okay, so just let me know a comfortable timing for which you all will be available. Sunday, it will not happen on Sunday because it will be a bit heavy if we go for 2 classes. So maybe if we can do it on Saturday, or I don't think weekdays will be comfortable for most of you. All right, weekdays are comfortable for me, but if you can do it on Saturdays or any other weekday, just let me know. Maybe you can discuss amongst yourselves in the group and let me know as to when we can start the the session on the divisional charts. It will be free for everyone to join, but I need to know on which dates everyone is comfortable with. The recordings will also be available, but just let me know on that. Okay, so why do we need the Vargas? Okay, why do we need the Vargas? Because at a particular time, at a particular place of birth, there will be a lot of people who will be born. Okay, so what it means is, all people who are born during a particular time at a particular place will have similar planetary dispositions in their chart. Okay, and what we also know is that a given sign rises on the horizon at approximately the same time. Okay, of course, there is a difference of around 4 minutes on the subsequent day. Okay, a given sign will rise on the horizon at approximately the same day, at the same time on the subsequent day also. Okay, so what it means is it is very much possible that the planetary disposition as well as the rising sign may remain unaffected even if the two births happen a day apart. Okay, so this is a common problem which people face for twins, right? In cases of twins, where the rising signs and the planetary positions are likely to be similar, segregation of the natives appears to be difficult. But then, even if two people have the same chart, they will not have the same life. Okay, so what Parashara does is that he overcomes this problem by introducing the use of Vargas. Okay, Vargas are the divisional charts. Okay, and it is a microscopic examination of each of the houses, the 12 houses of the horoscope. Okay, so each sign is divided into a specific number of parts. Okay, that means the Lagna or the rising sign will fall in a specific area of a division. Okay, and what happens is that in any division or in any Varga chart, the placement of the Lagna and the planets forms that specific Varga or divisional chart. Okay, so Parashara calls these 16 divisional charts as the Shodasha Vargas, right? So these Vargas, they not only help to segregate the similar charts, they also specifically deal with the particular areas of a native's life. Okay, so what happens is, if you are not using the divisional charts to make your predictions along with the birth charts, most of the predictions will not be accurate. Okay, everyone knows that Navamsha is very, very important, but it is not only about the Navamsha, it is also about the about the other divisional charts. Okay, to study the wealth of a native, just D1 will not work. You also have to go through the D2, which is known as the Hora chart. All right, so there is a video on my on my YouTube where Rajat Kapoor explains how to use the Hora chart and how to read it. Okay, so just go through that video if you think that will be helpful. But otherwise, as I said, we'll have a detailed course on the Vargas or the divisional charts. Okay, so what are the 16 divisional charts of Parashara? The first chart is, of course, the Rashi, which is the complete sign of 30 degrees. Then we have the Hora chart, which is 1/2 of a sign, which is of 15 degrees. Then we have the Drikana, which is 1/3 of a sign, that is 10 degrees. Then we have the Chaturthamsha, or 1/4 of a sign. Okay, 7 degrees 30 minutes. Then there is Saptamsha, or 1/7 of a sign. Okay, so that is 4 degrees 17 minutes and 8.5 seconds. Then we have Navamsha, or the D9, which is 1/9 of a sign. Okay, so Navamsha is very, very popular. Some people try to study the Navamsha as the main chart, but anyways, you have to know the you have to know the Rashi chart first before you go into the Navamsha. Okay, so it's of 3 degrees 20 minutes. Then we have the Dashamsha, or the D10, which is 1/10 of a sign. Okay, which is 3 degrees. Then we have Dwadasamsha, or the 1/12 of a sign, which is 2 degrees 30 minutes. Then we have Soda Samsha, or 1/16 of a sign, which is 1 degree 52 minutes and 30 seconds. Then we have the Vim Samsha, which is 1/28 of a sign, which is 1 degree 30 seconds. Then we have Chaturvim Shamsha, or 1/24 of a sign, which is 1 degree 15 minutes. Okay. Then we have Sapta Vim Samsha, which is also known as Bhamsha. So it is 1/27 of a sign. This is 1 degree 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Then we have the Trim Samsha, which is a very feared chart because not much is known about the Trim Samsha, but we'll have a detailed discussion on this as well. Okay, it is known as the D30 because it represents 1/30th of a sign, which is 1 degree and 0 minutes. Then we have the Khade, I've forgotten the name. Trim Samsha. Yeah, we have the D40. I've forgotten the Sanskrit name. After D30 there comes the D40. Just a minute, let me see what the D40 is known as. Just a minute, guys, I've just forgotten this. Okay, it is known as Khavedamsha. Okay, the D40 is known as Khavedamsha. And then we have the Akasha Vedamsha, okay, which is the D45 of 0 degrees 40 seconds. The D40 is of 0 degrees 45 seconds. Okay, and finally we have the Sastyamsha, which is the 1/60th of a sign, which is 0 degrees and 30 seconds. Okay. All right. Now, each of these divisional charts, they represent specific areas of life of an individual, as I said. Okay. So the Lagna chart, or the Rashi chart, it represents the decision-making ability of the native. Okay. It also represents the physical well-being of the native. The Lagna chart is the decision-making ability of the native. The Rashi chart, Rashi is you study the chart from the moon. Okay. So that represents the physical well-being of the native. Okay. Hora, of course, stands for wealth and prosperity. Drekana, it stands for brothers and sisters and their well-being. Okay. Chaturthamsha, which it indicates luck. It also indicates properties and residence. Okay. Saptamsha, it indicates children and grandchildren. Navamsha, it indicates your luck factor. Okay. Your spouse as well. Okay. The Samsha, it indicates your profession. It indicates any kind of what to say, siddhis that you may attain spiritually. Okay, this is one use of the Samsha which many people don't know. Okay, but we'll discuss.
Sir, little slow, please. I'm noting down.
Okay, you want me to repeat, Anuradhaji?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the Lagna chart, it represents the decision-making ability of the native. The Rashi chart, which is the moon chart, it represents the physical well-being of the native. Okay, Hora represents wealth and prosperity. Drekana, it represents brothers and sisters and their well-being. Chaturthamsha, it represents luck. It also represents property and residence. Saptamsha, it represents children and grandchildren. Navamsha, it represents how you use your resources. That means your luck factor. Okay. The Rashi chart may show a lot of resources, but if the Navamsha is not agreeing, those resources will be wasted. Okay. It also shows your spouse, the quality of your spouse. The Samsha, it indicates your professional life. Okay. It also indicates, your siddhis, your spiritual siddhis. Dwada Samsha, it indicates the father and the mother. Okay. Show the Samsha, it indicates, the pleasures and troubles that you have from your vehicles. Okay. From, from your properties and so on. Vim Shamsha, it indicates your spiritual pursuits. Okay. It indicates your sadhana. Okay. Chatur Vim Samsha, it indicates education and learning. Okay. Bhamsha, it indicates your strengths and weaknesses. Trim Samsha, this is, very, very scary for most. It indicates your miseries and troubles. Okay. Khavedamsha will include your auspicious and inauspicious happenings. Akshavedamsha, it will include, all the things combined that are shown by the Rashi chart as well as the Lagna chart. And similarly, Sastyamsha will also indicate all things combined that are indicated by the Rashi chart and the Lagna chart. Okay. So you don't need to worry much about the divisional charts, as I am again saying. We'll be going into details into each of these divisional charts. Okay. And then amongst all the divisional charts, the Navamsha is the most important divisional chart. It has a lot of practical utility. Okay. And whatever promises, Rashi chart represents promises, promises that have been resources that have been given to you in this lifetime. Okay. But those resources, if they are not confirmed in the Navamsha chart, if the promises are not confirmed in the Navamsha chart, then the prediction will not be correct. Okay. The Navamsha chart has to confirm anything before you make a prediction as an astrologer. Okay. So the planets will always give their results according to their placement in the Navamsha as compared to their indications in the Rashi chart. Okay. For example, a planet may be debilitated in the Rashi chart, but if it is in a very good position in the Navamsha, it will eventually end up giving good results. Okay. Similarly, a planet may be exalted in the Rashi chart, but if it is debilitated in the Navamsha, it indicates a fall from grace. That means, for example, say Mars is exalted in the Rashi chart, but in a Navamsha, it gets debilitated. Okay. So what happens is the native will be maybe gifted with a lot of landed properties, maybe gifted with a lot of courage and things like that, maybe physical strength. But as time proceeds, those things will leave the native. All right. So that is very, very important to understand. Nij Bhang, yeah, all the, all the principles that are there in the Rashi chart will also work in D9 and all the other divisional charts. Okay, so just a minute. Yeah. So all the things that are there in the Rashi chart, all the rules of astrology that are applicable in the Rashi chart, they will also work well in the divisional charts. Yeah, Anuradha ji, please.
Sorry, sir.
Okay,
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can.
What I want to ask is, how is this judged? Like, do you judge them as an independent chart all by itself, or do you judge them in respect? Like, let's say
it
has an exalted, let's say, spouse. Let's say somebody has an also say for wealth. Somebody has a lot of dhana yogas in his Rasi chart. So for how okay, let me take Navamsha. That's better. So say somebody shows great promise, say he'll have a great political career in his
your voice is not clear, Anuradha ji.
Can you hear now, sir?
Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah. Suppose say somebody has say a great shows political power in his Rasi chart. Let's say he will go very high politically. Now, what do I see this? Take this as a foundation and look at the Navamsa charts to see if this is confirmed, or do I confirm Navamsa? It could be that he may not be a political leader, but he may be like a great social worker.
Yeah,
so these kind of things.
Politics is about profession. Okay, so a promise of politics may be there in the Rashi chart, but the Dasamsha has to confirm that in that case. Okay, so what are the planets for politics? For politics, Sun and Rahu are very, very important. Okay. Suppose Sun and Rahu are placed very well in the Rashi chart, so it's a promise that the native will go into politics. All right. But suppose in the Samsha, Sun and Rahu are going into a say Aries sign or a or a Earth sign, then it means that the native may go into politics, but he or she will not find success there. Okay.
Okay, sir, but how do you judge? What I meant to ask is, do you see them as independent of the Rasi chart, or do you see them together? Like,
No, it's a combination of both, Anuradha ji. For example, if a promise is there in the Rashi chart, we have to compare it with with the Navamsha or the Samsha or Chaturthamsha, whichever is applicable, whichever chart is applicable. We have to confirm that with that, and then see how the planet is behaving independently in that particular chart. Okay, for example, say the fourth house of Navamsha, that is the most dangerous house. Okay, that is the most dangerous house. So the fourth house of Navamsha is actually seen for your for your grahast sukh. That means whether you will be happy after marriage or not. So if a malefic planet is placed in the fourth house of Navamsha, it indicates a lot of shock, a lot of trauma after marriage. Okay, but then you know you also have to see how the seventh house of the Navamsha is behaving. Okay, so suppose the seventh house of the Navamsha is say is aspected by Jupiter. Okay, so what happens is, although the marriage can lead to a lot of trauma, a lot of shock, but the marriage will not break. Okay, so that is how you are looking at it. And then you'll also see how the Tithi Lord of the Rashi chart is placed in the Navamsha, because the Tithi Lord is very, very important for your relationships. So suppose the Tithi Lord in the Rashi chart is placed badly, but what it means is, the native will try to get married, and all the marriage proposals will either not happen, or it will break just before the marriage. Okay, but suppose the Tithi Lord is actually well placed in the Navamsha, it means that although there may be initial failures, but the native will actually end up getting married in a good way. Okay, so that is how you are looking at it, right? Okay. Okay, so there is a book on Vedic astrology by Manasagari. Okay, so Manasagari says that he actually allocates some other areas to some of the divisional charts. Okay, for example, Manasagari says that the Lagna chart, it stands for body and character. Okay, Hora chart stands for wealth. Trikana is the results of past karmas. Saptamsha is, it shows the number of brothers and sisters. Navamsha, it is a combination of all things. Dwadasamsha is about the spouse, and Trimsamsha is about death. Okay. So these are various interpretations that are given by the, that have been given by the rishis. Okay. But when we do the divisional charts in details, I'll teach you how to make a prediction by combining all the above theories that are there in the BPHS. Okay, so some people will also say that Saptamsha will be used to ascertain the character or temperament of the native. Yes. And then suppose D40, which is Kavedamsha or the Akshavedamsha, they are used to determine the overall strength of the planets. Okay. Please turn the number by like D4, D7. Okay, Twinkle G. So you want to know the number of the, how the divisional charts are known as. That's what I think she's asking. Yeah, Hora is D2, Drekana is D3. Okay, Hora is D2, Drekana is D3. Chaturthamsha is D4. Okay, Chaturthamsha is D4. Saptamsha is D7. Navamsha is D9. Dasamsha is D10. Dwadasamsha is D12. Shodasamsha is D16. Vimsamsha is D20. Chaturvimsamsha is D24. Saptavimsamsha or Phamsha is D27. Trimsamsha is D30. Khavedamsha is D40. Akshavedamsha is D45. And Sastyamsha is D60. Okay. So next we come to we have already, we have not taken a deep dive into the planets, but then there are certain sub planets as well. Okay, when you draw a chart by using the software, you will see certain planets like Gulika or Mandi. Okay, so those things also mean something. They are not there for, just because the software, writer of the software wanted to put those planets out there. Right. So these sub planets are nothing but special mathematical points which are of particular significance in Vedic astrology. But then these sub planets, they do not have any physical existence. Okay. But then Parashara says that although they don't have any physical existence like Rahu and Ketu, they can function as minor grahas, okay, or sub planets. Okay, and they are known as aprakasha grahas. Okay, that means they are non-luminous in nature. All right. So, the calculation and interpretation, they add an extra burden on the astrologer. So, most astrologers, they don't use them in their practice. But since this is a foundation course, we have to know what those planets mean. All right. And, although they are not used in research, they actually offer a very fertile area for prediction. Okay. So there are three different categories of the subplanets. Number one, we have the Gulikadi group. Okay, we have the Gulikadi group. So this group of Gulikadi consists of 5 subplanets. Okay, I'm just tell you how to calculate in brief. We will not go for the manual calculations, as it will cause a lot of unnecessary mental strain. We just the software will calculate that for you. All right. So what happens is, to calculate the positions of the Gulikadi group, the time duration from sunrise to sunset, that means the day, is divided into 8 equal parts. Okay. So out of these 8 parts, the first part will belong to the Lord of the day itself. For example, if you are calculating it for Sunday, then the first part of the day belongs to Sun. For Monday, the first part belongs to Moon. For Tuesday, the first part belongs to Mars, and so on. Okay. And then the subsequent parts, they belong to the remaining 6 planets. Okay. The 8th part, all right, the 8th part is without a Lord. Okay. So the part which is ruled by Saturn is called Gulika. The part that is ruled by Jupiter, it is called Yamakantaka. The part that is ruled by Mars is called Mrityu. The part that is ruled by the Sun is called Kala or Kala Vela. And the part that is ruled by Mercury is known as Ardha Prahara. Okay, it is known as Ardha Prahara. So these planets, they form the Gulikadi group.
So please say again once more.
Yeah. So the part ruled by Saturn is called Gulika or Mandi. Okay, people think that most people assume that Gulika and Mandi are the same, but as I discuss, you will understand that they are not the same. Okay. Then the part that is ruled by Jupiter is called Yamakantaka. Okay. The one that is ruled by Mars is Mrityu. Many people must have heard that they say that Mars has a son whose name is Mrityu. The part that is ruled by the Sun is called Kala or Kala Vela. And the part that is ruled by Mercury is known as Ardha Prahara. Okay, so this is for day, this is for the day birth. Okay, but then if the birth has taken place at night, then the duration of time from sunrise to sunset, from sunset to sunrise, is divided into 8 equal parts. Now the first part will actually belong to the planet falling 5th in order from the day lord. Okay, for example, if the birth has taken place on Sunday night, then the first part will be ruled by, just calculate the planets, 5th, 5th from the day lord. Okay, Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter. So Jupiter will rule the first part for Sunday, Venus will rule the first part for Monday, Saturn will rule the first part for Tuesday, and so on. Okay, and the remaining parts will be ruled by the 6 remaining planets, leaving the 8th part without a lord. Okay, so the various subplanets will coincide with the parts belonging to their ruling planets, that is. Okay, so now, just like we calculated the ascendant manually, so if the ascendant is calculated for the end of the Saturn's part, it will give you the longitude of Gulika. Okay, and the ascendants, if the ascendants are calculated for the ending moments of the parts belonging to the other planets, it will give the longitudes of the respective subplanets. Okay, so we'll have a webinar on the Aprakash Grahas as well. Okay, it'll take some time, but I'll do it for all of you. All right. Now then we have the Mandi group. This is the Gulikadi group. Okay, so some people think that Gulika and Mandi are the same, but if you take a deep dive, it's a bit different. Okay, so when the day and the night are of 30 ghatis, that means 12 hours each for a day birth, the Mandi rises at the end of 26 ghatis on Sundays. Again, 22 ghatis on Monday. So these are fixed by Parashara. These calculations have been fixed by Parashara. Okay. So for a day birth, all right, for a day birth, just remember this. The day and night are of 30 ghatis, that means 12 hours each. So for a day birth, the Mandi will rise at the end of 26 ghatis on Sunday, 22 ghatis on Monday, 18 ghatis on Tuesday, 14 ghatis on Wednesday, 10 ghatis on Thursday. So it's it's being subtracted by 4. Okay, 6 ghatis on Friday and 2 ghatis on Saturday. Okay, and in case of night births, you will consider the values given for the day falling fifth from itself. Okay, that means 10 ghatis from the start of night on Sunday, 6 ghatis on Monday, 2 ghatis on Tuesday, and 26 ghatis on Wednesday, and so on. Okay, so when the duration of the day or of night is different from 30 ghatis, you must make appropriate alterations. Okay, and the extendant that is calculated for the specific time, as given by the Jataka, it will give you the position of Mandi. Okay. So how to calculate it? For a daytime birth, it is a formula. Okay, so for a daytime birth, you have to take the duration of the day in ghatis divided by 30, and then you multiply it by by 26 or 22 or 18 or 14 or 10 or 6 or 2, depending upon the day of birth from Sunday onwards. Okay, for example, if the day of birth is say on Tuesday, okay, if the birth has happened on say on a Tuesday morning, then what you will do is that you will calculate the duration of the day in ghatis, divided it by 30, and then you will multiply it by 18. Okay, because for Mandi we consider 18 ghatis on Tuesday. Okay, similarly for nighttime birth, you will do the same. You will calculate the duration of night in ghatis, divided by 30, multiplied by 10 or 6 or 2 or 26 or 22 or 18 or 14, depending upon the day of birth from Sunday onwards. So this is the second group of of the subplanets or the upagrahas. Okay, then we have the Dhumari group. Okay, so Dhumari group, it again comprises of I'm sorry, the Dhumari group is the second group. The Gulikadi group and the Mandi, it is the same thing. Okay, they just differentiated between Gulika and Mandi, right? So the Dhumari group is the second group of Aprakash grahas, and the here also 5 subplanets are obtained by manipulating the longitude of the sun. Okay, so the first planet is called Dhuma. Okay, Dhuma is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. If you have read it in if you have read the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions Dhuma very specifically. Okay, so how is Dhuma calculated? You take the longitude of the sun and add 4 seconds, 13 degrees and 20 minutes. Okay, it will produce Dhuma. It is representative of Mars. Okay, then we have Vyati Pata. Some people will also call it as Pata. So find the longitude of Dhuma and then subtract 12 signs. Okay, subtract 12 signs, you will get Vyatipata, which is the representative of Rahu. Then we have Parivesha. Parivesha is also known as Paridhi. Okay, so you obtain the longitude of Vyatipata. You just add 6 signs to Vyatipata to obtain Parivesha, which is ruled by the moon. Okay, then we have Indar Chapa. Okay, Indar Chapa. In the south, it is known as Chapa. In the west, it is known as Kodanda. Okay, if the names are different. Okay, Indar Chapa is the overall name. In the south, people call it as Chapa. In the west, it is known as Kodanda. Okay, so it is represented by Venus. And how do you obtain its longitude? You take the longitude of Parivesha, as I said, and then subtract Parivesha from 12 signs. Okay, so again, repeating it for clarity. Take the longitude of the sun and add 4 seconds, 13 degrees and 20 minutes. You will get Dhuma. Okay, it is representative of Mars. Vyatipata is representative of Rahu. You take the longitude of you subtract the longitude of Dhuma from 12 signs. Okay, Parivesha is representative of Moon. You calculate the longitude of Vyatipata and add 6 signs to it. Okay. Indra Chapa is represented by Venus. You subtract the longitude of Parivesha from 12 signs. That will give you the longitude of Indra Chapa. Okay. And finally, we have Ketu or Upaketu. Okay. It is not Ketu, it is Upaketu. So Upaketu is a representative of Ketu, just like Vyatipata is a representative of Rahu. Upaketu is a representative of Ketu. You add 16 degrees 40 seconds to Indra Chapa. Okay. And then, once you find out the longitude of Upaketu, you just increase, to see if your calculations are correct or not. You just add 1 sign to the longitude of Upaketu, and that will give you the longitude of the sun. Okay, this is just to check whether your calculations have been correct. All right. Okay, so next, the third group is known as the Prana Pada. Okay, it is known as Prana Pada. So Prana Pada is, it is a sign which is equivalent to 15 Palas or Vigatis. All right. So I've spoken about Palas and Vigatis in one of the previous videos. So please go back to it if you have forgotten about it. Okay. What is Pala? Pala means 24 seconds of clock time. Okay. So each Pala is equal to 2 degrees of Prana Pada. All right. And how to calculate the position of Prana Pada? The first step is to obtain the time of birth since sunrise. Okay. Expressed in Ghatis and Palas. All right. Find out the time of birth since sunrise. Okay. That is known as Ishtakala. And you'll express it in Ghatis and Palas. Okay. You'll convert this time of birth or Ishtakala into Palas and multiply it by 2. Okay. So, this will give you the Prana Pada degrees. Okay. And if you divide it by, if you divide these, if you divide these degrees by 30, you will actually convert this value into signs and degrees. Okay. So now you will look at the position of the, after finding out the Prana Pada degrees, you will look at the position of the sun. Okay. You will find out the position of Surya. Okay. So if Surya is in a movable sign, what are the movable signs? Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So if Surya is in either of these signs, you will add the Prana Pada degrees to the longitude of the sun. Okay. If Surya is in a fixed sign, so what are the fixed signs? Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. If Surya is in one of these signs, you will add the Prana Pada degrees along with the longitude of the sun. Plus, you will add 240 degrees, which indicates 9th house from the sun. Okay. And if the sun is in a dual sign, what are the dual signs? Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So if the sun is in a dual sign, then you will add the Prana Pada degrees along with the longitude of the sun, and then you will also add 120 degrees to the same value, which indicates the 5th house from the sun. Okay. So these results, they will give the position of the Prana Pada in degrees, and then you can convert it into signs by dividing it into 30. Okay. So that is how you calculate the different, you calculate the different subplanets or the Aprakash Grahas. Okay. Again, the software will give it to you. You don't have to, bang your head in frustration, but still, since we are learning it from scratch, so I just told you the basics. Okay. Now, predictive part of astrology, something that gets all of us excited. Okay. Take your chart and see where Gulika is located. Okay. And I'll give you the predictions now. Okay, take your chart and see where Gulika is located. And sometimes Gulika may be placed alone, sometimes Gulika may be placed along with another planet. But let's see. Okay, so Gulika, as I said, is a representative of Saturn. Some astrology texts also consider it as the son of Saturn. Most of you must have come across an image where an old man is eating children. Okay, so that indicates Saturn eating his own sons. Okay, that indicates Gulika. I don't know if you have, seen that image, but just Google the image, Saturn devouring his sons. Okay, Saturn devouring his sons. So that indicates Gulika and Mandi. Okay, so it is a very highly malefic subplanet, and it results, it gives different results in different houses. Okay, and because it is a malefic, it will give good results in the Upachaya houses. Okay, 3, 6, 10, and 11. Okay. So if it is placed in the first house, this is what Parashara says. the native will be sickly, sinning, stupid, ill-tempered, and will have an excessive sexual urge. Okay. If it is placed in the second house, then it results in some kind of disability. Okay. It makes a person very miserable, wretched, poor and indulgent in immoral acts. Immoral acts of what? Immoral acts to earn money. Okay. Then Gulika in the third house, it makes one good looking. Okay. It makes one go into politics. All right. It can also give, good results in bureaucracy. All right. It can also give good longevity. Fourth house, it takes away all the comforts. Okay. Because you never have happiness with Saturn in the fourth house. So the son of Saturn can also not do very good in the fourth house. Okay. So it will, it will, it will cause the loss of comforts. Okay. It will cause a lot of conveyances, vehicles. There are some people who buy cars and then the car does not stick with them. You must have seen those people. Okay. So this is a common problem I have seen when Gulika is placed in the fourth house. Okay. Yeah, just yeah, really sorry about that. So I've seen people who end up buying one car after the other, but then they have to sell it off because either the driver runs away with a part of the car, or maybe the car starts developing problems when they start to drive. Okay, so this is a problem with the Gulika in the fourth house. Okay, anyone with Gulika in the fourth house, please let me know. And then fourth house Gulika is also responsible for causing Vata and Pitta problems. Okay, the Vata and Pitta, these are doshas, and most Ayurvedic doctors don't know about it. I'll have a course on how to rectify Vata and Pitta, which no doctor will tell you. Okay, that is for another day. So the fifth house, Gulika placed in the fifth house, it can make it can make a person indulgent in indulgent in a lot of sexual activities. Okay, they may have a lot of sexual partners. All right, and these people are often fond of backbiting. Okay, and most atheists will have Gulika in the fifth house because the fifth house is the house of mantras. Okay, and if a planet like Gulika goes into the fifth house, you'll actually lose faith in God. All right, and it is also very, very bad for progeny. It is very bad for your children if someone has Gulika in the fifth house. Okay, so in the sixth house, it allows the native to win over enemies. Okay, and the native is also very fond of pets if Gulika goes into the sixth house. That is what I have seen. All right, the seventh house, it causes breakage of marriage due to adultery. Okay, and there are people who will just sit around all day while their spouse goes to work. This is especially applicable for for male spouses who are sitting at home while the female spouse is going for work. So this is a problem with Gulika in the seventh house. Okay, then in the eighth house, it makes one very, very it makes one very, very indulgent in extramarital affairs. Okay, it also makes one very unvirtuous. All right, in the ninth house, it can make a person poison his parents to death. Okay, it can also make one indulgent in very, very cruel deeds. Okay, so in the 10th house, it is actually good. Okay, so what happens is the native does well in his profession, but the native will be very, very jealous of the success of others if Gulika goes into the 10th house. All right, so in the 11th house, it causes enmities with the elder brother, but it confers wealth to the native nonetheless. Okay, and but in the 11th house, Gulika in the 11th house often gives problems with kidneys. Okay, in the 12th house, it makes people go to jails. Okay, it also makes them associate with prostitutes. Okay, or gigolos, if you would like to call the male version of it. Okay, that is Gulika in the 12th house. All right, and then Gulika may also be associated with other planets. Okay, so if it is associated with the sun, the native eventually ends up hating his father. Okay, for the moon, it is adverse to the health of the mother. For Mars, it causes disputes with brothers in the name of property. Okay, for Mercury, it causes health issues. Sometimes the native is also driven mad. All right, for Jupiter, it makes the native indulge in gossip and backbiting. Okay, if Gulika associates with Venus, then it makes the native associate. If Gulika associates with Venus, then the native can contract sexually transmitted diseases. Okay, For Saturn, it can cause chronic illnesses and a very painful death. Okay, that means you may live till 90, but suppose you have a cancer from 60, which makes it a very painful existence till you reach 90. That is Gulika associated with Saturn. Okay, for Rahu, the native may be poisoned. Okay, Socrates was poisoned. All right, so if someone has a chart of Socrates, you just see Gulika was associated with Rahu. Okay, for Ketu, it can cause death due to fire injuries. All right, so Parashara also gives results of the other subplanets. That means the subplanets like Dhuma and Vyatipata, but we'll not discuss that because that is not used in general Vedic astrology predictions. Okay, so any doubts? Will not proceed further than this. We will go to the planetary avasthas in the next class. Okay, avasthas are literally states of being, and each planet will fall into a certain avastha based on the degree of that planet in the horoscope. So any questions?
So please give some sample charts.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we can,
Yeah, I'll just get done with the basics first, and then we will have sample charts as we proceed along the way. Once we start, once we take a deep dive into the predictions, then we will have the sample charts. Okay. All right, so we don't have any questions, I suppose, and yeah, please let me know when you want to start with the on which day all of you will be comfortable with the divisional charts course. So I look forward to your opinions in the group. Okay, or you can ping me personally as well. So for me, I think Saturday will be convenient because for people living in the other countries, it's a weekend. For people living in India also, it's nowadays Saturdays have become weekends. Earlier we used to work on Saturdays like donkeys. Nowadays we don't do that often. Yeah. Okay then, and I have started with a series on the aspect videos. I've covered the aspects of the sun. Okay, so that's the aspect of moon is about to go live. Okay, I've completed the aspect video on Mars as well. So if you have any other topics on which you would like to know, then please let me know. Ping me in the group, ping me personally. I'd be very happy to make a video on that topic. Okay. Can we appease Gulika? No, Shannon. Gulika is just like Saturn. Okay, you cannot appease Saturn. You have to pass through the karma. Of course, you'll be learning Tantra soon, so I'll teach you how to do.
It just sounds very scary, like some of
Yeah,
it.
it does. But
Okay.
you'll be learning Tantra shortly, so I'll be teaching you that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right then. So thank you so much for joining. I'll see you again in the next class, and I'll send you the slides in the group shortly along with the recordings, which will be available by tomorrow. Okay. Namaste everyone. Have a great week ahead. Om Gurave Namah.